Hi everyone and welcome to our topic which is all about the theories of international trade. So dito sa topic na to basically is we're going to learn paano ba nagkakaroon ng competitive advantage ang isang bansa whenever they do importing or even exporting. And also we will determine ano ba normally yung mga benefits na nare-receive when we are doing international trade. So first is the absolute advantage theory. So it was proposed by Adam Smith. The theory of absolute advantage suggests that a country should produce and export goods in which it can produce more efficiently, so with fewer resources than the other countries. So dito sa absolute advantage theory, sinasabi na dapat may focus daw yung isang country na mag-produce ng mga products na more efficient sila, no? Na pag sinabing more efficient, kaya nilang gumawa ng mas maraming items or products with fewer resources, no? At a faster possible time. So what is the key points in this theory? So first is the word efficiency because it focuses on the efficiency of production. Another one is specialization. Countries should specialize in goods where they have an absolute advantage, 'di ba? So therefore, in the theory of absolute advantage, dapat talaga merong specialization ang bawat country. And of course, there is a trade benefits by specializing and trading, countries can achieve higher overall production and consumption. Okay? Dahil nga na-specialize ka dun sa ganong products, kaya mong mag-trade, more, and kaya mong mag-produce, more at a lesser cost. So, for example, if country A can produce 10 tons of wheat with the same resources than country B uses to produce 5 tons, country A has an absolute advantage in wheat production. So, let's proceed with what we call comparative advantage theory. So, this was developed by David Ricardo and sinasuggest dito na kahit daw yung isang country ay merong absolute advantage, no? Kumbaga, kaya niyang mag-produce, ng products, all products, let's say, countries will benefit from trade if they specialize in producing goods with the lowest opportunity. So let's say you're producing goods A and good B, okay? Or product A and product B. So you're both good at that, but nakita mo na parang may gap dun sa product B, okay? Kung saan um, yung country B, can specialize more in product A. So therefore, mag-focus ka na lang sa product B and then you can just leave it to country B yung pag-produce ng product A and focus on product B. So, what is the key points here? Okay, opportunity cost focus on relative efficiency of production. And then there's a mutual benefit wherein both countries can gain from trade if they specialize based on comparative advantage, 'di ba? Kagaya ng sinabi ko, rather than dalawang i-focus nung country A, then they can focus on the product B while the country B will focus on the product A. And then there is a resource allocation where there is an efficient allocation of resources across countries. So for example, if country A is more efficient in producing both cars and textile than country B, but the efficiency gap is larger for cars, okay, then country A should specialize in cars while country B should be in textiles, leading to a mutually beneficial trade. So the next one is the what we call the Heckscher-Ohlin theory, no? So dito naman is may tinatawag kasi tayong factor proportions theory kung saan it argues that countries export goods that use their abundant and cheap factors of production and import goods that use their scarce factors. So for example, let's say ang isang country is labor intensive, no? So, kumbaga dapat they would focus on, let's say, mga furniture, ganyan. Pero pag capital intensive, pwedeng yung mga machines, ganun. So, so what is the key points here? So, factor endowments, wherein focus on relative abundance of factors like land, no? Ano ba yung abundant sa country na yon? Is it labor, no? Marami bang tao doon? Or marami bang capital yung country na yon, no? And of course, there should be specialization and trade wherein countries specialize in products that intensively use their abundant resources. So, of course, there is a good thing about this one because there is an income distribution wherein trade affects the distribution of income within countries. So, example, a country will with abundant labor but scarce capital will export labor-intensive goods like the textile, no? Kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina. And import capital-intensive goods like the machinery. Ayan, depende kung ano yung uh, factor of production na abundant ka at ano yung scarce ka. Okay, the fourth one is the what we call the new trade theory. So dito kasi parang related to sa tinatawag na economies of scale na kailangan is damihan mo yung production ng products para na sa ganun ma-maximize natin yung fixed cost that will lessen no or decrease the production cost per unit, no? Parang ganun yung thought, no? Kung saan ang definition nito is yun nga, nung late 20th century, that this theory emphasized the role of economies of scale and network effects in international trade. So what are the key points here, no? Number one is the economies of scale. Kagaya ko ng sinabi ko, no, na ang pag pinoproduce mo yung product ng mas marami, sobrang bulto, then the cost per unit decreases. Why? Because na-maximize natin yung fixed cost. And then, the product differentiation, sorry. The product differentiation, no? The consumers value variety leading to trade even in similar products, okay? And of course, we have the first mover advantage wherein there is an early entrance rather in an industry can gain significant advantage na kung ikaw yung nauna, no, na mag-produce ng ganito karaming product, may advantage ka. So example of which is the global automotive industry wherein there's a large-scale production and variety in models drive international trade. So the next one is yung tinatawag nating gravity model of trade. So parang dito kasi kunyari no, isang country no, mataas ang production niya sa isang product. O syempre kaya niya mag-produce, kaya niya mag-export ng product doon sa ganong product, no? But of course, we have to also consider the proximity of the export of the country where we are going to export the product. Kasi baka mamaya, no, masyadong malayo, syempre, it will entail transportation cost. So, yun yung nakaka-apekto dyan. Hindi lang yung production, yung economies of scale, but also the transportation. So, ganun yung parang gravity model of trade. So this model predicts bilateral trade flows based on economic size, the GDP of countries and the distance between them. So ano ba yung key points dito? So for example, no, economic size, the larger economies tend to trade more, of course, no? Like China, America, Japan. Then distance, no, trade decreases with increasing distance due to higher transportation costs. So syempre, kahit gusto ko mag-trade no ng mas marami, but of course, it decreases dahil medyo malayo no yung countryng pag-exportan ko. And of course, other factors like cultural and historical ties, no? Kung saan, let's say, both countries has these historical ties, then it could also affect the import and export transactions. So for example, the significant trade volume between the United States and Canada due to their large economies and close proximity. Dahil malapit tong dalawa na to and they have, both, they have good no, GDP, then maganda yung transaction nila, mataas yung kanilang trade volume. So the next one is the what we call product life cycle theory. So if you still remember, in marketing, we have the product life cycle, diba? The introduction, the growth, the maturity, and the decline. So sabihin na natin itong country na to nag-export sa country B, no? And syempre, hindi naman habang buhay ay mataas lagi ang demand for that product. Dadating ang panahon na pwede magsawa o masaturate na yung market sa country B. So ang gagawin ni country A, mag-export siya ng lugar sa iba, no? Let's say country C. So, it was proposed by Raymond Vernon kung saan the theory explains how production, location shifts internationally over its life cycle, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina. So, anong key points dito? So, stages of product life cycle, no? Kasi pag nagde-decline na sa isang lugar, syempre hanap ka na ng ibang lugar na nasa introduction stage pa lang siya or bago sa paningin nila, no? And of course, no, there is a shift in production kung saan initially produced in innovating country, then production moves to other countries as the product matures, 'di ba? Kung medyo nagpupunta na siya sa maturity stage, hanap ka na ng ibang country na pwede nating i-export yung product. And then there is a trade patterns kung saan nagkakaroon ng pagbabago sa trade patterns as products move through their life cycles. So for example, the production of personal computers initially concentrated in the US, then shifting to Asia as the market matured. So the next one is the what we call Porter's diamond model. Okay? So dito is ayun nga no, Michael Porter's explain why certain industries with particular nations are competitive internationally. So normally class no, kasi minsan may support system din kasi yan, no? May support system yan sa community, may support system yan sa government. Kaya lumalakas yung industry ng isang country. Like for example, in Korea, 'di ba? So malakas ang K-pop dyan because it's not just because magagaling sumayaw yung mga, let's say, no, yung mga dancers there, but it was supported by the community, by the Koreans itself, by the government, no, and other stakeholders. Kaya lumalakas yung K-pop industry. So, what are the key points? No? There are four determinants: factor condition, demand condition, related and supporting industries, firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. And then, no, we have the competitive advantage kung saan nagkakaroon ng interaction of these factors that creates a national competitive advantage. Kasi pag, yun nga, no, may mga resources tayo, no, may mga tao tumatangkilik, no, factor conditions, tapos sinusuportahan tayo ng iba't ibang industries to improve, etc. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng national competitive advantage. Nakikilala yung country na yun for that product or services. And of course, the role of government, kagaya ng sinabi ko, no, ang government, malaki din ang natutulong niya para tumaas yung pagiging competitive advantage natin, no, as a nation. So example, the success of German automotive industry due to advanced engineering skills, strong demand, and robust supporting industries. So the next one is the technology gap theory. Kung saan each country kasi possible na may meron siyang level of technology. Like for example, in Taiwan, in terms of microchips, no, they are really 10 years ahead even in China, no, even in other countries like US. Kasi yun talaga yung naging focus nila, yung technology pagdating sa paggawa ng microchips na ginagamit sa mga cellphones, laptops, mga ganyan, no. So, parang example of that. That is an example of that. So, it suggests that technological difference between countries create opportunities for trade, no? Kaya mostly na mga microchips are coming from Taiwan. So, what are the key points, no? So, innovation and limitation. Innovating countries export new products while others imitate and eventually produce them. So, nagagaya din, no, once in a while, pero kagaya na sinabi ko, medyo 10 years ahead, no, yung Taiwan pagdating sa microchips. And then of course, we have the technological diffusion wherein there's a spread across borders over time. And then there's a dynamic comparative advantage wherein countries' comparative advantage change as technology spreads. No? Habang gumaganda yung technology, ay possible maiba yung comparative advantage natin. And then, no, example, no, the early dominance of US in the semiconductor industry and the subsequent rise of Asian manufacturer. So, nauna ang US na pagdating sa paggawa ng semiconductor, pero ngayon ay yun na, lumalago na rin yung paggawa ng semiconductor in Asian countries. So, the next one is the what we call theories of regional integration. So, dito naman class is, kunyari, no, sa isang regional, no, let's say, different countries, ay nagsama-sama sila, nag-integrate sila, they create policies, they create provisions or processes on how they can improve the trade, no? Maganda kasi yun because it explores how regional trade agreements and economic integration affect trade flows and economic outcomes. So, what are the key points here? Number one is the types of integration. So, may mga area na free trade, tapos yung mga custom unions, no? And common markets and economic unions as well. Tapos, no, there is a trade creation and diversion kung saan nagkakaroon ng impact, no, yung intra-regional trade and trade with non-member countries. Kasi maganda talaga na member ka nung regional trade na yon. But of course, no, nagkakaroon din siya ng impact dun sa mga non-member countries. Pero mas nagbe-benefit yung member countries. Okay, katulad nito, 'di ba, yung in terms of the custom unions, no, na kung saan possible there could be an agreement about lowering the tariff, no, for the membering countries, no. That's an example. And then, of course, the economic and political benefits, which is enhanced economic operation and political stability. So, aside from the economic perspective, pati sa politika, no, nakaka-apekto yan. Kasi nga, syempre, every members are benefiting from each other, which increases their economy. No? For example, the European Union, known as EU, as an example of deep economic integration, promoting trade among member states.